am Corinne Fox. I'm an actor, I'm a producer, I'm a writer. I was just in this movie called Safety on Disney Plus, if you guys have seen it. And I'm also an ambassador for NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness. And that's why I'm here today, a part of this one-to-one series. I'm very, very excited because everyone needs someone to talk to, and I have a really great someone to talk to that's going to be joining us, my best friend Natalie. I'm actually going to... Okay, so while I wait for Natalie to join on my account, there she is.
We did it.
We did it. I know. We figured out technology. So everyone, this is my one. This is my person that I lean on for support, advice. I honestly could not. I don't think I could make it without you, Nat.
I feel the same about you. And I'm so grateful for you every day, because I think how blessed we are to have each other, especially because we both struggle with anxiety. So to have each other to get through these moments, especially now.
It's like,
so that it's such a blessing.
It's such a blessing. If you guys don't know, if you guys follow me at all, you know Natalie. We have a podcast together called Am I Doing This Right? Which we literally had a meeting for, I don't know, 2 hours ago.
Right before.
We did not look like this at all. At all. But yeah, so we have a podcast together, and we actually have an episode called Managing Anxiety. We have these conversations often, and we feel super comfortable being vulnerable about our experiences. Ooh, not you first. Maybe I'm freezing. Oh, no, you're good.
Mm-hmm. You froze
for
a quick second, but you're back.
Yeah, you froze, Steph. You froze. We both froze. But anyway, so we have a podcast where we talk about these things all the time, and we feel super comfortable having these conversations together, you know? And I feel like...
Yeah, and I think it's so helpful to openly discuss it, because I think even 10, 15 years ago, it wasn't talked about as much. And I know that you and I have talked about how nice it is to know that other people are going through similar things, and like what types of tools they use. And so we talked about that on our episode, and it's, to this day, it's one of our most listened to episodes, which is so nice, because you just know that it's hopefully helping some people that are maybe new to anxiety too, because some people are experiencing it for the first time.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah, especially right now. I know so many people who maybe, hadn't experienced it before, and the pandemic hit and we're locked inside. And, there's so many obstacles right now and so many stressors that I do think people are seeking this information out. And that's why I think what the Mental Health Coalition is doing is so amazing. I've been such a big champion for them, but also Kenneth Cole, because I don't know if you remember this, Nat, but I did a campaign for Kenneth Cole.
I remember this.
Yeah, I did one called the Courageous Class.
Wait, I was there.
Did you go to my photo shoot?
No, but I was in town. It was in New York.
It was in New York.
I was there.
Of course you were.
I know.
Yeah, so I did a campaign with Kenneth Cole, who's like a super big champion for mental health, and actually co-founded, I believe, the Mental Health Coalition. But I did something called the Courageous Class, and not only did they find like models to wear their clothes, but they also found people that had a mission. And so because I'm an ambassador for NAMI, I kind of stood for the mental health. And we had another model who was transgender, just like finding these people who were just more multifaceted than just like a pretty face. So I'm huge fan of Kenneth Cole, always have been.
Yes, Kenneth Cole.
Yes, Kenneth Cole. So you guys can submit questions into the question thingy down there. I don't really know how it works, but at the end we'll answer some of you guys' questions about mental health. But I think we should get into it, Nat, and start our little conversation. So this is the one-to-one series by the Mental Health Coalition. Everyone needs someone, and Natalie is my one.
And
We
you're
met.
my one.
Okay, good. I'm glad I'm your one. And we met at summer camp when, how old were we?
I think we were 14.
We were 14.
Yeah.
Which
So
is,
it's been a while.
it's been 12 years, which is really actually coincidental because I was 14 when I was diagnosed with an anxiety disorder. And I think I'll just kind of maybe explain my mental health journey for
Yeah.
people who maybe don't know it, and then how Nat has been such a great friend, champion, support system throughout all of this. So when I was 14, I was diagnosed with an anxiety disorder. I was sitting in my English class and I was feeling like super nervous. My heart was beating out of my chest. My palms were sweaty. I felt like I needed to like run out of the classroom. And I was thinking, I feel like nobody else is feeling this level of uncomfortable. And then it kind of manifested.
And because a lot of the times with anxiety, it's unprovoked. You're just sitting there in class like, what is happening?
Yeah.
And you don't feel normal. It's like, what's wrong?
Exactly. And that's what was happening to me. I was sitting there and I was just like, this isn't normal. And whatever inside of me told me, like, ask for help. I don't know what it was, but I reached out to my parents and I said, I'm not feeling well. I don't even want to go to school because I'm getting so nervous, so anxious being at school. And they did such a great job because they immediately found a therapist for me. And you know, Natalie,
she's still with you.
she's still my gal. Oh, wait. I think I might be pausing.
Oh, we froze a little bit again, but I think we're back.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I've had the same therapist since I was 14. I love her so much. And I'm very transparent about when I'm going to therapy, you know, what I'm working on in therapy. But anyways, over the course from the age of 14 to literally right now, have been building my toolbox of all these different strategies and ways that I cope with my anxiety. And I feel like one of my tools is not like having someone that I can really rely on.
Yeah. I think the other thing though, with having somebody, especially like a close friend that you can rely on and talk to, is it's nice when they know, when you're close enough and vulnerable with each other enough to know like their particular brand of anxiety, because everybody's anxiety kind of manifests a little differently.
Yeah.
So, you know, even a couple weeks ago, you had FaceTimed me because something had happened that you were a little anxious about. And some people that don't have anxiety might think, what? Like, why would that be something you'd be nervous about or anxious about? But when you know the person and they can rely on you in a very non-judgmental way and like they just get it, it's so helpful. Corinne knows my thing. I have a weird thing where I think things will spontaneously combust when I'm anxious. And I also just assume that everybody hates me. That's like one of my big things. And Corinne always she sent me a TikTok once. It was like, just a reminder, like your friends don't hate you. Like, you know, so it's nice to have people that know how it manifests for you, you know, they can support you in that way.
Yeah, I think that's what's really special about our connection is like we know each other so well. So like I can kind of tell you something that objectively is probably like doesn't make sense, but like you get it, you understand me. I've dabbled with like very general anxiety like that, but I've also had moments where I had panic disorder as well, or I haven't had a panic attack in a long time, but where I've had some like real kind of, oh wait, maybe I'm freezing. I don't know why it's so frizzy. Is it me?
It might, you know, your internet sometimes is weird, but I think you're totally fine. You're back.
It's so weird. Okay. I don't know why it's doing that. But anyways, I was saying that I also have panic disorder and I've had panic attacks. I've been out and had panic attacks And I feel like you're also like a safe person for me if I'm like, hey, we need to, you know, circle out and get out of here right now. You know what I mean? And I feel like it makes me feel so much more safer to know I have a friend that understands that side of me. You know what I was wondering if you remembered, Nat?
What?
When I was having a really bad spell, a panic attacks, like kind of just back to back to back, I remember I kind of had a moment where I felt a little bit depersonal, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And I called you. I don't know if you remember this, but I was like, I feel like I'm not here. Like, I feel like I'm not in my body.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I know exactly where I was. I was in the bathroom. And you said, you were like, you need to go to your therapist. You need to tell her how you're feeling. And like, you need to get help because like, this is a symptom you don't normally have, or, you know, etc. And I felt like that was kind of the push or the direction that I needed to get the help that I needed in that moment when my panic attacks were really, really bad.
Yeah. Well, that's the other nice thing of having the one person that like, because we can kind of, I mean, it goes both ways too. Like you kind of monitor where I'm at and I can kind of monitor where you're at, especially like when you're not sleeping. And I'm like, have you not been sleeping recently? Because like, let's get this on track, you know?
Yeah.
And to have just somebody that knows, like you said, that was not a normal thing for you. That wasn't a normal manifestation. Kind of come in and get reworked or to work on.
Yeah.
Are we frozen again?
Yeah. I'm wondering. Oh, hi. Can you see me?
We're back.
Oh my gosh. Okay, we're back. So I was wondering if, I don't really know this, but when I was first diagnosed with anxiety, I was super embarrassed about it. At the time when I was 14, like there was no conversation for mental health. Wellness wasn't normal. Talking about how you're feeling wasn't normal. There wasn't like platforms like this. So I kept it hidden for a really long time. I'm curious, when was the first time? Do you remember the first time you realized, did I tell you that I had anxiety, or did you just notice?
No, I think that you had sort of been saying like something's off, like, and then you had gone to see your therapist and you determined you had anxiety disorder. But I don't remember at the time you feeling, at least for when you came to me, I think you were a little more open about it. And so, but I think it probably was around the time you were diagnosed that you told me. But I do think it was in a very, because you also, the thing with anxiety too is when you first get diagnosed, you sort of don't really know what it is. You kind of have to figure it out as you go. And again, what your own personal brand of it is. And like sometimes, you know, depression comes into the picture. There's all kinds of different things that can happen within having anxiety. And so I think that you were still very in the learning process. I mean, we're always in the learning process, but you were sort of kind of figuring out, how is this going to affect me? What does that say about me? You know? And then it was just so inspiring to see you kind of spearhead it. And then I think especially in college is when you started to be more like very open about it. And like you wanted to, I think after kind of Kristen Bell, right? Kristen Bell sort of came out and said,
yes, like, you remember. Yeah, I always felt like it was this thing that I had that was different. But then you're right, Kristen Bell. I watched a YouTube video. We love her. We love her for so many reasons. But she did a YouTube video talking about her struggle with depression. And I'd never seen a celebrity talk about mental health, which seems crazy now because so many people talk about it. But and And then I was like, wow, other people also don't feel well. Other people also are struggling with this. Like maybe, I should come out and say that I struggle with this as well. And then I partnered with NAMI, and the rest is history. We've done so many amazing things together. But just the importance of transparency, which I think we try to do so much with our podcast.
Yeah. Well, that just reminded me, because I was thinking about how when I was like formally diagnosed with anxiety, and sort of started learning more about it, my mom has always had anxiety. My cousins have had anxiety. It's in my family. So I knew it was around. But knowing that you had it already, I never felt like afraid or alone. And so I think that was such a blessing for me that a lot of people don't have, because maybe their family struggles with it, but they don't talk about it. Or maybe they don't have any friends that actively struggle with it, so they feel alone. And I think when we did our podcast episode, it was so eye-opening, because I was getting all kinds of DMs from people that were saying, thank you so much for this episode. I didn't even have anxiety until this pandemic started. And your episode was so helpful because I don't really know what's going on with me. And so I think that just having these types of conversations is so important.
Yeah, I feel like that is part of the medicine, is just connecting with people and being like, oh, I'm not alone. I'm not having these feelings by myself, especially right now. That I had the same thing. I know we just had it with our podcast episode, but when I came out with my anxiety, I did an article on Refinery 29, and I wrote about it, and I might be freezing again. This is so frustrating. Okay, wait. Is it working? We're back. Yeah. Okay. I wrote an article for Refinery 29, and I remember the night before it came out, I was so nervous. I was scared of being called the C word, which is crazy.
Crazy. Mm-hmm.
And I was like, people aren't going to understand this. They're not going to, understand my journey. And the second that article went live, I had people who were in my close circle who said, like, thank you so much for writing this article. I have this, I have that. People I thought I was posted that clearly, they didn't feel like they could have that conversation. And so anyways, the point being is that, like, either through our podcast or through other way, like when you connect in this way, like people come out the floodgates and are like, thank you. I've been waiting. I just needed somebody to do it first,
Yes, exactly. And I think it is that whole thing of, oh, if you can do it, I can do it. Oh, if you can go to therapy, I can go to therapy. If you can do that. And so it's kind of this domino effect when you see the people around you who say, like, hey, I was struggling and here I am now. It's such a motivation to think, okay, I don't have to suffer either.
Yeah, especially with therapy. That's a big one. I feel like there's so much stigma around therapy, and we talk about going to therapy so often because I'm like, I want everyone should be in therapy. Yes. I don't know if that's technical or not, but that's just what I think.
The other thing that I think about therapy is that it's a preventative tool. Because sometimes in therapy sessions, I think to myself, I don't even really have anything to talk about. nothing's terrible in my life or something. But there's always things to kind of work through, and it's better to go to therapy, I think, early on, because then you can establish your relationship with your therapist. And then in the event that you do have something that's, you're really struggling with or whatever, you've got that good relationship with them. You can talk it through, you're comfortable, and I think as a preventative medicine, honestly, for your mental health. Yeah. It's so important.
I think we got a few questions in here.
Okay.
Let me see.
Oh, I did see people were saying, what's the name of the podcast? It's Am I Doing This Right?
Am I Doing This Right? Yes.
And you can we're on Instagram at Am I Doing This Right Pod.
I think this is a good one for us now because we got so many of these. How do you find ways to handle your anxiety? I'll go with a few things from my toolkit. Number one, having someone to talk to,
Yeah.
whether a family member, a friend, even like, um, I don't know, anybody in your life that you feel comfortable and safe with. Two, a big one for me is exercise. I have to be exercising regularly. I know it sucks. I hate telling people to do it because people don't like exercising a lot of the time. But
Even yoga, though, even something light, or truly, if I am catching myself feeling really anxious, a walk.
a walk. Just
Go on
like
a walk, get some fresh air, kind of get the blood flowing.
Yeah, I remember from our episode, I think it's like 5 minutes of aerobic exercise literally starts to feel good chemicals in your body. So that's all you need, guys. 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Is there anything that you love, Nat?
Yeah, for me, a huge one. And like you said, exercise really is a big help for me, but also, and like we said, therapy, but meditation is so, so key for me. Especially if I can feel anxiety coming on, or if I have an anxiety trigger, I can just kind of do a meditation. And for me, even it's easy. You can go on YouTube and search guided meditation.
Yeah.
Meditation for anxiety. Sometimes they don't even have to be very long. They can be short. But it helps you kind of recenter, get your breathing back on track. And that's critical for me.
Yeah, if you can learn how to control your breath, you control so much of like the like physiological symptoms of anxiety, you know, like heart pounding.
Or even I notice sometimes my shoulders are like.
Yeah. Okay, wait.
Be able to kind of relax.
Oh, you're back. Okay, cool.
We're back.
Okay, so yeah, those are our tips and tricks: exercise, meditation, therapy. There's so many more. And NAMI has a lot of great resources. There's a link that I pinned right here. If you guys are feeling unwell and don't know what to do and don't know where to go, click on the link that's pinned. And there is so many resources for you guys. Okay, and I think we might have time for one more question.
Yeah, let's see.
Oh, this is a good one. How do you know if it's time to ask for help or if the feelings are just going to go away?
Oh, that's a great question.
That's a great question. I would say that if you're having, if it's prolonged, you know, like of course, in moments you get nervous, you get stressed, but I think that if it's a prolonged thing that's debilitating you from doing the things that you want to do, going to work, seeing friends. I mean, obviously it's hard to see people now, but you know, like doing your normal routine activities, that's the time to ask for help. That's when I knew. When I didn't want to go to school because I was so nervous and anxious, I was like, ding, 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 something's off.
Yeah. The other thing in my experience, when I know if it's just a feeling that's going to come and go, is like sometimes my anxiety is situational. You know, there's something coming up where I'm nervous about it, or even doing this, like right before this, I texted Corinne, I was like, oh my God, I'm anxious. But then that passes, right? But when I know that I need help is when I have anxious thoughts just all the time. And I'm not getting a break from it.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And I can feel it in my body. I can feel it when I can feel the anxiety just in my body, and I think, okay, something's up. Yeah.
Well, Nat, this was so great. You're my person. You're my one. I'm so grateful for you coming on and being vulnerable with me and talking about our relationship. I'm gonna have you go so that I can bring on an expert.
Yes, we love an expert.
We love an expert on our podcast too. Maybe he'll come on for us. And do an episode. That'd be so great. But Nat, I love you so much, and I'm going to welcome on Dr. Ken.
All right, love you.
Love you. Okay. Oh, remove myself. Okay, guys. So now I'm going to welcome Dr. Ken Duckworth, who is the medical director at NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, that I am an ambassador for. He's going to come on and kind of give his expert opinion on everything that Natalie and I kind of talked about. So I'm going to get him in here. There he is. And while he's coming on, I'm just going to introduce him. So Dr. Ken is double board certified in adult and child adolescent psychiatry. Oh, there you are. I was reading your introduction.
Hi. How are you, Corey?
Hi. It's so nice to meet you.
It's a pleasure. And I want to start by saying you are an expert too. You have a lived experience. You're teaching others. You're using your platform to make it okay for others. You are an expert too, because at NAMI, we really believe the lived experience is powerful and the ability to share with each other. So I went to medical school and I know a few medical tricks. Okay,
Yeah.
But expertise takes many forms, Corrine. And I just want to thank you for your leadership and for, you mentioned so many important tools, really. You used the word toolbox, exercise, anxiety is a physiology, right? It's in your body. Sharing with friends. Friends are anti-anxiety interventions, at least most of the time.
Yeah.
Most of the time. Sharing things is, reducing anxiety. Most other people feel, oh yeah, I'm dealing with some of that too. So I want to thank you for having me on, and I want to salute you for your leadership.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been really a joy for me to be working. I've worked with NAMI, I think, for like almost 4 years now. And it's been honestly one of the joys of my life. It's made the years of anxiety worth it, because now there's a platform to share and connect. And even the Mental Health Coalition doing such a great job of giving someone like me, who's not an expert, a platform.
Well, you're a kind of expert.
I kind of am an expert. I'll accept that. But just giving me a platform to share my story, because that's all I can do, and share my experience, and then obviously connect with someone like you who knows the science behind how all of this stuff works. So super happy to have you on. I am going to read your introduction just so everyone knows how wonderful you are.
Wow.
So you're double board certified in adult and child psychiatry.
Yeah, that's good. You're doing good.
Okay, cool. And your journey with psychiatry started when you were a boy growing up. Your dad, who experienced severe bipolar disorder, and he was very loving and kind, but he was also hospitalized quite a lot, and that kind of motivated you to become a psychiatrist and now work with NAMI as the medical director.
That's my little life journey. This began when I was a boy, and the most fabulous person in my life had a very serious illness. And I didn't know how to help him. I didn't know what the tools were. So I went really long. I went as long as you could go. I went to medical school. I moved to Boston to train at Harvard. I took this to its logical extreme. And then NAMI found me. And I feel so grateful to be part of this entire community. The real strength of NAMI is the peer support, sharing stories. I offer, a medical psychiatric perspective, but I'm very respectful of the first person experience.
Yeah. And what I'm curious about is listening to me and Natalie's conversation.
Yes.
What's kind of your, I know you kind of brought up in the beginning, but what's your expert take on, the things that we're trying to kind of manage our own anxiety?
You're doing a lot right? So first of all, anxiety is a normal physiologic state, kind of turned up. Mm-hmm. And there's different subtypes of anxiety. I think you said the word flavors. There's subtypes of anxiety disorders, generalized anxiety disorder, specific phobias. Some people consider obsessive compulsive disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, variants on anxiety. The bottom line is some of the same strategies work. You mentioned a lot of them. You used the word toolkit, which is awesome.
Yes, I love my toolkit. I've been using it for 12 years.
Everybody in this life needs to have a series of resources that they turn to. Whether your vulnerability is anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder, whatever it is, you need to know what has worked for you. You use your good brain and say, okay, I know that my body gets over-revved. I have to use my body. You mentioned exercise. If you're talking to anybody who's treating people with anxiety disorders, in the first 15 minutes, they're going to ask you, do you exercise? Because your body needs to be down-regulated, right?
Yeah.
Your body gets torqued up when you're anxious, and that's a normal human reaction turned up too far. So psychotherapy is helpful, both being understood. Nat mentioned, times when she's talking to a therapist, she doesn't have that much going on. But there's also specific strategies to pay attention to your worst possible thoughts. So her thought, nobody likes me. Well, what's the evidence for that? You guys have a podcast. You have a cool friend.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Right.
like what's the evidence for that? So in cognitive behavioral therapy, you evaluate the evidence. What's the evidence that I'm a terrible person? Well, I've never done anything bad, really. I stole a comic book when I was 8. That's all you got. This is the kind of level. And so the idea of this is you don't let your automatic negative thoughts run down a hill.
Right.
You stop
Override.
it.
Yes.
Wait a second. Exactly right. So a good therapist will both be empathic and understanding and also teach you some of these basic tactics. So, you can lose things, but that doesn't make you a loser. You don't define yourself by the automatic most negative thoughts. So, I'm not that good at Instagram, right? And, had I not been able to get on, I could have gone down a whole hill that I'm never going to help anybody again. I can't believe I can't manage this millennial miracle that is Instagram. What is wrong with me? But,
Yeah.
I kind of had it all prepped up in case I couldn't do it, right? Because I've done a few of these, and not everyone has gone this swimmingly. So I want to salute you for your tech savvy as well. So the body, how you think about your thoughts. You mentioned very well looking at functioning. Can you work? Can you parent? Can you be engaged in your relationship? You also mentioned duration. Typically, people can have an anxious prone day, the day before a big exam. For you, the day before a big performance in a movie, right? Maybe for me, giving a talk to 5,000 people, right?
Yeah.
Having anxiety is your body reminding you, oh, you're supposed to prepare, right? But the idea is if you have duration or functional limitations, you should probably get an assessment. Now, medication is a tool. It often works for things like panic disorder.
Yeah.
I typically am not aggressive with meds. I ask people to exercise, do cognitive behavior therapy, challenge their automatic negative thoughts, and see what that does. Like you said, or maybe it was Ned, not a lot of people like to exercise.
Yeah. I know.
Really
it's hard
good.
to describe.
Yeah, it's really good to help with your baseline level of physiologic anxiety. Also want to mention, this is an anxiety-prone time we're in. Uncertainty, the possibility that someone you love will get ill or die, job loss, economic uncertainty, racial trauma. People are taking in a lot of inputs this is a very anxiety-provoking time. So if you already had an anxiety vulnerability, it's likely to be worse. So just respect that. Remember to exercise. Remember not to give up on therapy. Remember to connect with people. Remember to challenge your automatic negative thoughts. Anxiety disorders are really at the highest level they've ever been now.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can totally imagine that. I mean, I have friends who, aren't predisposed like I was and haven't suffered their whole, adulthood like I have, experiencing it for the first time. What's your advice to people who are experiencing this for the first time, who don't know where to go? Like, where should they go first?
Well, first, let's just get the first point down, which is NAMI's expression is you are not alone.
Yes.
Millions of people have this vulnerability, including you, right? Including you, cool person, actress, right? Like, let's go. So this is common. Somewhere between 30 and 40 million people will have anxiety problems.
Yeah.
It's a big number. Millions and millions of people, right? So the first thing is not to get so shame prone that it's only about you. So your approach to running a podcast, having a running conversation about this is my experience, I think that down regulates people's shame. That's helpful for communication. So if you're able to function, but you're battling with anxiety, see about getting a mental health evaluation.
Mm.
And, you know, a mental health evaluation is not a commitment to talking about your childhood for 3 years. I've had people say that to me. Evaluation. Oh, I have panic disorder. Turns out there's 3 or 4 things that work for panic disorder. Let's develop a treatment plan. Let's work on it, because having panic attacks, for example, can lead people to become more fearful about leaving home.
Yes.
Or getting engaged in the world. So getting treatment is actually valuable. A good primary care doctor might have some tips on a therapist who could help you. They also may be able to do the medications if you need that. Again, all medicines have side effects, so I don't lead with medicines. They're just tools. Back to your toolbox. But they're at the bottom of the toolbox. You know how you pull the thing out with the tools underneath?
Yes.
That's where I put medication. So you have
You
exercise.
have to do that to get
Exactly. Cognitive behavior therapy, friendship, sharing, communication, right? Reducing shame. That's all in the top of the toolbox. If you're still not able to work or parent or be engaged in relationships, then you consider taking the toolbox down and do more intensive therapy. Maybe you go once a week or twice a week. You were doing less. The other thing is there's a lot of nice resources online for cognitive behavioral principles. NAMI has some, WebMD has some. There are other teams. And so the idea is you can do some of this work on your own, independently reading about it. Easier to do it with another person who's helping you reflect on your thoughts.
You know what? When I was first diagnosed, when I was 14, I was a very proactive 14-year-old, and I ordered these workbooks, anxiety workbooks that I did by myself, and it taught me a lot of the like CBT, you know, methods and ways of thinking. And one thing that I really loved that I learned was playing lottery. And if you had like an anxious thought that was like, you know, all my friends hate me, but you have $1 million and you have to put all your money on all my friends hate me, or maybe some of my friends will actually like me.
Maybe there's a few people who like me a lot.
Maybe. What are you going to put your $1 million on, you know? And then it really puts it in perspective, because you have to challenge the thought.
As a 14-year-old, you did this on your own? Did you talk to your parents? Like, what was the conversation? Because that's very sophisticated. But most 14-year-olds are not getting workbooks delivered to their home. That's really good. That's very impressive. Tell me about how that came about.
Well, I reached out to my parents when I was feeling so anxious that I couldn't go to school. I felt like I didn't want to go to school. And I told them, this is how I'm feeling. I don't feel right. Which, you know, that anxiety disorders or mental health problems start between the ages of 14 and 24, right?
Half of them before age 15.
Oh, wow.
3/4 of them before age 25.
Yeah.
Tom Insel, the former director of the National Institute of Mental Health, a friend of mine, famously calls them the chronic illnesses of the young. It's like, whoa, you have diabetes for people with gray hair, high blood pressure. But if you look at kids, it's mental health, it's behavior, it's addiction. These are the vulnerabilities of the young. So 14 is not an especially early onset. But getting workbooks delivered to your home is a next level up. I mean, come on.
I think that
Talk about the toolkit.
I think it was actually, maybe it was a manifestation of the anxiety disorder, because I was anxious about having an anxiety disorder. And
yes, that's a thing, actually. That is a thing.
Yeah, so I think I was super proactive about it because I felt so different from my classmates. I felt like probably nobody's feeling this way, which I know probably wasn't true, but that's what I assumed. I thought, I need to get over this. I need to figure out how I'm going to beat this thing. And so I've always been really proactive. And yeah, when I was 14, I would, instead of like, I don't know, making up a dance to a pop song, I was like doing anxiety workbooks and getting these tools, which is why I feel like I function so well now, because I've been dedicated to this journey for so long.
Even if you're not Green Fox and getting workbooks delivered to your home, it's never too late to begin.
Yeah.
I want to emphasize there's very good evidence that getting help earlier in life, whether you're 25, 30, 50, 16, the earlier you get help and the quicker you adopt some of these principles and practices, it will benefit you later on. because then you have a toolbox. Because
Mm-hmm.
many people, the first onset of panic or severe anxiety, they haven't worked on it or thought about it, and they're left with a lot of suffering later in life. And it's harder when you have kids and you're trying to hold a job,
Yeah.
right? Like, so, as soon as you get a vulnerability, and again, most of these vulnerabilities occur younger in life.
Yeah.
It may pass if it's an anxious day. You don't have to get care for that, get treatment, get an evaluation. But if you're persistently feeling you can't go to school, that's it. You've got it. That's functioning. I can't go to work. I can't deal with my kids today, whatever it is, because I'm so anxious. That's the light bulb.
Yeah.
You have great instincts. I just want to say that.
Oh, thank you so much. There's a couple questions here in the
Yeah.
chat. I'm going to, this is a great one that you could probably answer. How do you handle mental health while dealing with COVID-19?
Yeah. Well, first of all, COVID-19 has been another wave of mental health.
Yeah.
So many more people are experiencing anxiety and depression, trauma, and relapse of addiction than ever before. The Center for Disease Control did a big study, showed 42% of adults are having clinically significant mental health symptoms.
Wow.
It's interesting. Now, I've been going to the American Psychiatric Association meeting for decades. I've never been to a pandemic mental health class. Now, this year I'm going. There'll be 50 of them. So some of this is mental health and treatment, and some of this is human resilience.
Mm-hmm.
How do you connect with people through Zoom calls? How do you find a way to go do outdoor dining with somebody you care about when you can?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm in Boston. There's a foot of snow. I go for a walk with a buddy. The weather's terrible, but we love each other. We love each other. This is one way. Isolation is hard on people. Human connections are antidepressant and anti-anxiety. So isolation works against that. There's a reason NAMI is fighting solitary confinement in prisons.
Mm-hmm.
Putting a person away from other people is bad for their mental health. So you have to isolate to protect a lot of people out in the world. You should know that the younger generation is suffering more mental health than people who are at risk of getting sicker. So in some ways, the younger generation doing a big sacrifice for people over 70, over 75, so don't let your grandparents say anything nasty about teenagers or millennials or young adults or Gen Z. You guys are taking the brunt of this. You're supposed to be at a stage of life where you're out there, engaging, learning, connecting, right?
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be watching Netflix and chilling. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's, because I have some gray hair, right? So developmentally, I'm married. I'm out, my kids are grown. Like, I've been through these stages of life and I've been given that opportunity. You're 22, you're 25, and you're isolated and trying to find an identity, trying to find work. It's much harder.
Yeah.
So be very gentle with yourself would be the first thing. Back to functioning. If you can't function, if you're really suffering, get an evaluation from a mental health practitioner. They've seen hundreds of people just like you. So they're not going to say anything that will activate shame or prejudice in you. This is what they're trained to do. They tend to be lovely people. They know how to treat anxiety. It's the most common mental health condition is anxiety. So your average therapist knows how to treat it. You don't have to go to a turbo anxiety center or research. A good social worker knows how to treat anxiety because it's the most common condition in mental health.
Well, Dr. Ken, we're getting low on time, but I do want to ask you, because this whole series is about finding that one person that you can connect with and rely on. And I just wanted to know your opinion on the importance of action and having a support system. Like, obviously it's so important, but I just would love for you to speak on it.
I think I have one of my daughters has thousands of followers on Instagram or something. And what I've said to her It's the 3 people that you can actually share
Mm-hmm.
your actual human experience with that may not look amazing. You want a beach in Barcelona, it looks great, but that's not exactly, right, how you get through this life. And so I don't think you need 14,000 followers or friends. Those are all fine if you want that.
Yeah.
You're sharing with Nat. This is how people heal, is sharing with each other. So I think it's better to have more than one person, because your one person, might be unavailable or ill or anything else, or attending to something in their own lives. So a small circle of friends that you cherish and who cherish you. That's my best perspective on connection. I think that's one of the things that has frayed a little bit in American society. That's another discussion. But you're leading this charge around connection is a good thing, and you're helping people.
Oh, well, thank you. You are helping so many people, and this was so insightful, and I love listening to you speak. First of all, you have a great cadence. I can listen to you all day. You should be on our podcast.
Doc, give me a call. You know how to find me.
Yeah, we're gonna have you on. But I just want to let everyone know that's watching. This is an ongoing series that the Mental Health Coalition is doing. Weekly, they will have these IG lives with someone like me and an expert like Dr. Ken talking about mental health. This was very anxiety focused, but I'm sure they're going to be hitting other topics. And this is actually going to be recorded as well, and it's going to be on the Mental Health Coalition's Instagram page. So go there to watch it again if you guys missed the beginning half. And thank you, Dr. Ken. You're so wonderful.
Thank you for being a
and
NAMI
great.
ambassador. You make a difference. And it was a pleasure
you.
to be on your program. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day. Thank
You
you
too.
everybody for watching.